Hello, friends, and welcome back to English in Advance. I'm Jessica, and I am so deeply happy that you've chosen to spend this time with me today. It is truly an honor to be a part of your learning journey. My goal, as always, is to help you speak English not just correctly or with a bigger vocabulary, but with a real, authentic sense of confidence, with a feeling of genuine ease, and most importantly of all, with more joy. Today we are going to embark on a very special journey together, a journey inward. We're going to talk about a topic that is profoundly important, an emotion that touches the heart of almost every single language learner at some point. It's something very real, something that can feel like a giant wall blocking your path, and that something is fear. We are going to take a gentle, honest, and comprehensive look at the fear of speaking English, exploring its deepest roots. And then, step by careful step, we will explore the beautiful, rewarding, and entirely possible process of building genuine, unshakable confidence from the ground up. I want you to take a moment right now, just for yourself. Think about a specific time recently when you had an opportunity to speak English. It could have been at work, in a class, or even just thinking about leaving a comment on a social media post. I want you to try and remember that moment. What did you feel in your body? Did you notice your heart starting to beat just a little bit faster, like a little drum inside your chest, signaling a kind of alarm? Maybe your palms felt a bit clammy, or you felt a strange tightness in your throat, making it feel difficult to even swallow. Or perhaps you experienced the most frustrating feeling of all. Your mind, which was full of clear, intelligent thoughts just a moment before, suddenly went completely and utterly blank, like a white screen. Do you ever find yourself lying awake at night, long after a conversation has ended, replaying it in your mind over and over again, worrying about the small mistakes you might have made, cringing at a word you mispronounced? Do you feel a sudden wave of shyness wash over you, an almost physical urge to shrink and become invisible, even when you know deep down that you have something valuable to say and you know the words to say it? If you are nodding your head right now, if even a tiny piece of this detailed picture sounds familiar to you, I want you to take a slow, deep breath and really hear me when I say this. You are not alone. You are not strange. You are not weak. And you are most certainly not failing. You are completely and wonderfully normal. This experience you are having is a shared human story, a common thread that connects millions upon millions of people from every culture, every country, and every walk of life. It is a natural, predictable, and understandable part of the incredible, brave journey of learning a new language. But here is the good news, the truly wonderful and empowering news that I want you to hold on to like a guiding light throughout our time together today. You can overcome this fear. It does not have to be your permanent reality. It does not have to define your English journey or place a ceiling on your potential. You can learn to understand it, to befriend it, to manage it, and ultimately to move past it, one small intentional step at a time. And I will be your guide on that path. So please, find a comfortable place where you won't be disturbed for a while. Take a slow, deep breath all the way into your belly. And as you exhale, let go of any tension you might be holding. Let's begin this journey together. All right. Fear is such a big, powerful word, isn't it? It sounds so dramatic. But for so many learners, it is the true word. The feeling isn't just a little bit of nervousness, like the excitement you feel before a performance. It can feel like a genuine, overwhelming fear. It can manifest as a deep-seated shyness, a persistent and nagging anxiety, or sometimes as that feeling of being completely and utterly stuck. It is a sensation like there's a tiny, overprotective, and very loud gatekeeper living inside your mind. A little voice that is constantly on high alert, whispering warnings. Don't speak. Wait, you're not ready yet. Your grammar isn't perfect. Don't say anything at all. It is a paralyzing feeling. The sense that you are frozen in place, watching the world and the conversations move on without you. Have you ever felt that sensation? Like your tongue is made of heavy lead and the words you want to say are trapped somewhere deep inside, unable to find their way out? It's okay. I promise you, what you are feeling is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you are challenging yourself, and that is an act of courage. So, let's become detectives for a moment. Let's put on our investigation hats and examine this feeling with curiosity instead of judgment. Why do we feel this way? What is it, specifically, about the act of opening our mouths and speaking a new language that can feel so intensely intimidating and threatening? Let's break down some of the most common reasons, the silent beliefs and thoughts that often run through our minds just below the surface of our conscious awareness. As I go through them in detail, I want you to see if any of these resonate with you, if they sound like a familiar voice you've heard in the quiet of your own mind. The most common fear, the one that stands at the very top of the mountain for almost everyone, is the fear of making mistakes. Our minds, in a misguided effort to protect us from potential social embarrassment, can start racing with a perfect storm of anxious questions. What if I use the wrong word and sound foolish? What if I choose the incorrect preposition and the meaning is unclear? What if my grammar isn't perfect? What if I forget the S on the third-person singular verb, a rule I've studied 100 times? And beneath all of these small, technical, grammatical worries is the one giant, terrifying, underlying fear. What if people laugh at me? What if they think I'm unintelligent because of my mistake? These thoughts, even if they are just quick, fleeting whispers in the back of your mind, have a powerful effect. They can make you feel small, judged, and exposed. They make you want to retreat into the perceived safety and silence of your own mind, where no one can judge your performance. I once had a student, let's call him David. David was a brilliant accountant, incredibly sharp and detailed in his own language. But in our English conversation group, he was almost completely silent. One day after class, he explained it to me with such clarity. He said, "Jessica, I want to speak." My mind forms the sentence, but then a second voice comes in, the voice of the editor. It starts checking the grammar, the vocabulary, the structure. It finds a small potential error and says, "No, that's not perfect." So I try to fix it, and I check it again. And by the time I am finally sure that the sentence is perfect, the conversation has moved on 3 topics later. His fear of imperfection, his desire to be flawless, was completely silencing his brilliant mind. He was caught in what I call the perfection trap. Then there's the closely related fear, which is the fear that they won't understand you. This is a deeply frustrating and often acutely embarrassing feeling. You might think, what if my pronunciation is so bad that my words are just a jumble of meaningless sounds? What if I have to repeat myself over and over and over again, like a broken record. The mere thought of that potential awkwardness, of seeing that blank or confused look on someone's face as they struggle to understand you, can be enough to stop you from even trying to speak in the first place. It feels so much easier, so much less painful to simply nod and smile and say nothing at all than to struggle through a sentence, feeling your face get hot with embarrassment with each repetition. So, you let the moment pass. The question you wanted to ask your colleague remains unasked. The story you wanted to share with a new acquaintance remains untold. And another precious opportunity to practice, to learn and to connect with another human being slips away like sand through your fingers. Here is another thought, another pervasive fear that holds so many intelligent people back. What if I sound silly? Let's really unpack that word, silly, because it's a catch-all for a deeper anxiety. What it often means is, what if I sound strange? Or worse, what if I sound like a child? This is a particularly difficult and painful challenge for intelligent, accomplished adults. In your native language, you have a rich, sophisticated vocabulary. You can express complex, nuanced, and abstract thoughts with precision. You can be witty and funny, you can be deeply serious, you can be incredibly professional, or you can be beautifully poetic. You are a multi-dimensional person. But when you speak in a new language, especially when you're at an intermediate B1 or B2 level, your linguistic toolbox is more limited. Your vocabulary and your command of complex grammatical structures might not be able to keep pace with the speed and the sophistication of your adult thoughts. This gap, this frustrating disconnect between your intellectual self and your linguistic self, can be incredibly jarring. It can make you feel like you are not representing your true, authentic self. You feel a little embarrassed, and you worry that people will judge your entire intelligence, your entire personality, based on your current language, not on the actual depth and quality of your ideas. It's like being a world-class concert pianist who is suddenly forced to perform a masterpiece on a small plastic toy piano. The frustration is real, it is profound, and it is completely valid. And of course, there is that very common thought, a persistent and nagging insecurity for so many learners. You open your mouth to speak, and you hear the sound of your own voice, your own accent. You immediately compare it to the polished, often standardized accents you hear in Hollywood movies or on international news channels, and you think to yourself, this is not how a native speaker sounds. My accent is too thick, it's too obvious, it must be bad. But my dear, wonderful friend, please let me tell you something with all the sincerity in my heart, and I truly want you to let this message sink into your bones. Your accent is not bad. Your accent is a beautiful, integral, and undeniable part of who you are. It is a sonic map of your life's journey. It tells the world where you come from. It hints at the other languages you have so brilliantly mastered before. And it stands as a powerful testament to the incredible courage you possess to learn yet another way of communicating with the world. Your accent tells your unique story. It is a badge of honor, not a mark of shame. So please, from this day forward, let's make a pact to retire the word bad when we talk about our accents. Your accent is more than okay. It is a powerful sign of your strength, your resilience, and your status as a true global citizen. And let's add one more fear to our investigation, one that is subtle but causes so much panic. It's the fear of forgetting. It's that heart-stopping moment when you are in the middle of a sentence, and the perfect word, a word you know, is right there on the tip of your tongue, but you just can't grasp it. Your mind goes blank. The silence feels huge. This can be especially terrifying in a high-stakes situation, like a job interview or a presentation. The panic of that single forgotten word can derail your entire train of thought, making you feel flustered and incompetent. This fear can make you avoid speaking altogether because the potential for that momentary mental freeze feels too risky. Now, I need you to listen very carefully to what I am about to say, because it is the absolute foundation for every single thing we will discuss today. All of these feelings, the anxiety, the shyness, the worry, the panic, and all of these thoughts, the fear of mistakes, of being misunderstood, of sounding silly, of your accent, of forgetting, they are completely and totally normal. They are profoundly, beautifully, and universally human. Every single person who has ever dared to learn a new language has felt these things at one time or another. Even the most confident, fluent speakers you admire today once stood exactly where you are now, feeling that same flicker of fear in their heart, that same tightness in their throat. But here is the essential, life-changing, liberating truth. These are just thoughts. They are not facts. A thought is a transient event in your mind, a little bit of electricity and chemistry, a fleeting idea that comes and goes like a cloud in the sky. But just because a thought appears in your mind does not automatically make it true or powerful. This is a critical distinction you must learn to make. Just because you feel scared does not mean you are actually in physical danger. Just because you feel that you cannot speak does not mean you are truly incapable of speaking. The feeling and the objective reality are two completely separate things. You can feel nervous and still speak a clear sentence. You can feel unsure of a word and still find another way to communicate your idea. You can speak even if your English isn't perfect. Because let me tell you a secret. Nobody's English is perfect, not even a native speaker's. We all make mistakes. We all stumble. We all have moments where we can't find the right word. It is part of being a communicating human. Let's go a little deeper now. Let's peel back another layer of this complex onion. Let's really think about what this fear is at its absolute core. This fear is not actually about the English language itself. It's not really about grammar rules like the present perfect versus the past simple. It is not about the size of your vocabulary list. It's not about how many phrasal verbs you have memorized or not memorized. The fear, when you trace it all the way back to its original source, is almost always about confidence. That is the real root of it all. So what is confidence? It's a word we use all the time, but what does it actually mean? Confidence is not about being loud or arrogant. It's not about knowing everything. Confidence in its purest form is the quiet internal belief in yourself and in your ability to handle a situation, even if it's difficult or unpredictable. It's that calm inner certainty you feel when you decide to speak your mind. We all have that small, cautious voice in our head from time to time. It's the voice of self-doubt. It's actually a very ancient protective mechanism from a part of our brain designed to keep us safe from threats. In the modern world, the threat isn't a saber-toothed tiger. The threat is social judgment. So the voice says, "Be careful. Maybe you should stay quiet this time. You might say it wrong and people will judge you and you will be rejected from the tribe." That little voice is fear. and its primary job is to try to protect you from what it perceives as a social threat, the threat of embarrassment, judgment, or rejection. But you do not have to obey that voice. You are the one in charge of your actions. You can learn to acknowledge it. You can learn to say, "I hear you, fear. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. I appreciate you looking out for me." And then you can consciously choose to take a deep breath and speak anyway. That choice, that single act of speaking despite the fear, is the birthplace of confidence. And this brings us to the most important, most powerful, most liberating idea of our entire episode today. Please, if you remember only one single thing from our time together, let it be this: confidence is something you build. It is not something you are born with. It is not a fixed personality trait that some people are gifted with and others are not. It doesn't magically appear one morning when you wake up after you have finally reached some imaginary, undefined level of perfect English. You have to construct it. You are the architect and the builder of your own confidence. You build it piece by piece, action by action, word by word. You build it by trying, by speaking, especially when your voice shakes a little bit, by making mistakes and realizing that you survived, that the world didn't end, by doing it again and again and again. I want you to think of your confidence exactly like a muscle in your body. This is the most powerful analogy I know. Imagine you decide you want to have stronger arms. If you march into a gym and try to lift the heaviest, most enormous weight on the very first day, what will happen? You will probably fail, and you might even injure yourself. You will leave the gym feeling discouraged, weak, and defeated. But what if, instead, you start with a very small, light, manageable weight? A weight you knew you can lift, and you lift it just a few times, but you do it every single day. At first, you won't see a dramatic change. A week later, you won't look like a bodybuilder. But that small weight will start to feel a little easier to lift. After a month of this consistent small effort, you might be able to lift a slightly heavier weight. After a year of this patient, consistent small effort, your muscle will be completely transformed. It will be strong, capable, and resilient. It is the exact same process with confidence. When you speak English, even just one small, simple sentence to the person at the grocery store, you are doing one repetition, one lift for your confidence muscle. Every single time you try, you are making it a little bit stronger, a little more resilient. Now, here is something really special and almost paradoxical to consider. Fear is not always a bad thing. In fact, sometimes fear is your compass. It is a signpost pointing you in the right direction. It's an indicator that you are doing something important, something new. It means you are pushing your personal boundaries. You are in the process of learning. You are in the act of growing. So if you never ever feel even a little bit scared or nervous on your English journey, it might actually be a sign that you're not really growing. It might mean you are staying safely tucked away in your comfort zone. We all have a comfort zone. It's that cozy, familiar, warm place where everything feels easy, known, and predictable. But real learning, significant growth, the magic of transformation doesn't happen there. To truly learn and improve your speaking, you need to be willing to step just outside of that zone. You have to venture into the space where you feel a little unsure, a little wobbly, a little bit afraid. This is where you move from your comfort zone into what educators and psychologists call the learning zone, or the growth zone. So the next time you feel that little flutter of fear in your stomach, that quickening pulse right before you have to speak, I want you to try a little mental experiment. Don't let it be a stop sign. Don't let it push you back into the safety of silence. Instead, I want you to try and reframe that physical feeling. Say to yourself, this feeling. I recognize this. This is not the danger feeling. This is the growth feeling. This is the sensation of my brain building new connections. This is the feeling of my confidence muscle getting a good workout. Acknowledge it and then move forward. Tell yourself, this is just a feeling. It will pass. I can still speak. I am learning, and with every single word I say, right now, I am getting stronger and more capable. Now let's get very, very practical. Let's talk about the specific actions, the nuts and bolts, the real-world strategies of how we can actively and consciously build this real, sustainable confidence. I'm not talking about pretending to be confident or just repeating empty affirmations in the mirror. I am talking about creating a system of powerful habits and effective mindsets that cultivate a simple, strong, and quiet belief in yourself. A belief that is built on the hard evidence of your own actions, step by step, day by day. As we've established, confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you actively create. It grows slowly and steadily, like a beautiful, strong oak tree. You can't force it to grow overnight. You have to give it the right conditions, a little bit of sunlight in the form of daily practice, a little bit of water in the form of self-kindness, and a great deal of patience as it develops its deep roots. So how do we do that in a real, tangible way that you can start today? Let's look at some clear, powerful strategies that actually work, especially if you are starting from a place of feeling intensely nervous or profoundly shy right now. Our first technique is arguably the most important one of all, the cornerstone of our entire confidence-building structure. You must start small, but you must be relentlessly, fiercely consistent. Confidence is not built in big, heroic, dramatic leaps. It is built in the slow, patient accumulation of tiny, almost unnoticeable successful steps. You do not need to do big, terrifying things to build it. In fact, tiny, manageable actions are often far more effective in the long run, especially if you commit to doing them often, if you make them a non-negotiable part of your daily or weekly routine. For example, let's think about speaking for just 1 single minute a day. That's it. 60 seconds. That is less time than it takes to scroll through a few photos on social media. What could you do in that minute? You could stand in your room and describe out loud what you see out the window. I see a tall tree. The leaves on the tree are green. A blue car is driving down the street. The sentences don't have to be brilliant. They just have to be spoken, or you could talk about your plans for the evening. Tonight, I will cook pasta for dinner. I need to buy tomatoes and cheese. Then I will watch a movie with my family. Or you could simply pick up an English book and read 1 short paragraph out loud. The specific content doesn't matter as much as the physical act of forming the sounds and speaking the words. Or what about the even smaller habit of thinking in English for just 30 seconds? While you are making your morning tea or coffee, you can narrate the process silently in your head, like you're the host of your own cooking show. First, I am getting the big red cup from the shelf. Now I am pouring the hot water into the cup. I will let the tea steep for 3 minutes. I will add a little bit of milk and honey, Or maybe your small, consistent action is to create a confidence journal. Get a small notebook and every single evening before bed, write down 3 simple things. 1. A small English action you took that day, e.g., I listened to a podcast for 5 minutes. 2. One mistake you made and what you learned from it, e.g., I used the wrong word, but I looked it up and now I know the right one. 3. One thing you are proud of, e.g., I was brave and said good morning to my colleague in English. This journal provides concrete, undeniable proof of your progress, which is the ultimate weapon against the feeling that you're not improving. These actions feel so small, don't they? They almost feel like they're not enough to make a real difference. But they are incredibly, profoundly powerful. Why? Because they build a routine. And routines are magic for our brains, which crave predictability. Routines create a sense of comfort, order, and safety. The more you speak, think, or write in English, even for these tiny, scheduled moments, the less strange and scary and foreign it becomes. The foreignness of it begins to fade. It starts to feel more normal, more a part of your identity. It becomes a habit, not a high-stakes, terrifying performance. It's exactly like brushing your teeth. As a small child, you had to be reminded and it felt like a chore. But now, after years of consistency, you don't even think about it. It's an automatic part of your daily life. That is the first and most crucial step to real confidence. Seamlessly weaving English into the fabric of your everyday life until it feels as natural and as necessary as breathing. Now let's talk about the role your body plays in all of this. We often think of confidence as a purely mental state, but it is deeply connected to our physical selves. This is a new and exciting area we can explore, and it's called embodied cognition. In simple terms, it means your body's posture and actions can actually change the way your brain thinks and feels. You can use your body to trick your brain into feeling more confident. Let's start with a simple but powerful technique popularized by social psychologist Amy Cuddy. It's often called power posing. Before you enter a situation where you need to feel confident, like before a phone call, a meeting, or even just joining a conversation group, find a private space, like a bathroom or an empty office. For just 2 minutes, I want you to stand in a posture of confidence. This means making yourself bigger. Stand with your feet apart. Place your hands on your hips like Superman or Wonder Woman. Or you could stretch your arms up into a V shape, the universal sign of victory. Hold this pose for 2 full minutes. It might feel silly at first, but scientific research has shown that doing this can actually decrease the stress hormone, cortisol, in your brain and increase the confidence hormone, testosterone. You are sending a powerful signal from your body to your mind that says, I am powerful, I am confident, I am ready. Next, let's talk about your breath. When we feel anxious or scared, our breathing pattern changes automatically. It becomes shallow and quick, centered high in our chest. This type of breathing sends a signal to our brain that we are in danger, which makes our voice sound shaky, thin, and weak. You can take back control by consciously changing your breath. The best technique for this is called diaphragmatic breathing, or belly breathing. Before you speak, practice the 4-7-8 technique. You can do this anywhere. Breathe in quietly through your nose for a count of 4, feeling your belly expand like a balloon. Then hold your breath for a count of 7. Finally, exhale completely through your mouth with a whooshing sound for a count of 8. Repeat this 3 or 4 times. This simple exercise is a powerful tranquilizer for the nervous system. It slows your heart rate, calms your mind, and allows your voice to come from a place of centered calm, making it sound deeper, more resonant, and much more confident. Finally, let's consider your voice itself. When we are nervous, we tend to speak very quickly, trying to get the words out before we make a mistake. We also tend to speak very quietly, as if we don't want to be noticed. These are physical habits you can change with practice. Before you speak, try a simple vocal warm-up. Hum a gentle sound, feeling the vibration on your lips and in your chest. This helps to relax your vocal cords and find your natural resonant pitch. Then, when you do speak, make a conscious effort to slow down your pace. Speak at about 75% of your normal speed. This deliberate slowness signals confidence and authority. It gives you time to think, and it makes it much easier for your listener to understand you. Your body is your ally in this journey. Use it to support your mind. Now, let's move on to another incredibly practical and powerful section. How to build your own personal English world. How to create an immersion environment right inside your own home. One of the biggest challenges for learners who don't live in an English-speaking country is the lack of daily exposure. But with a little creativity, you can transform your home into a rich learning environment that builds confidence through constant, low-pressure familiarity. Let's first distinguish between active and passive immersion. Passive immersion is having English on in the background, like listening to an English radio station while you cook. It's helpful for getting used to the rhythm of the language. Active immersion is when you are consciously engaging with the language. Both are important. A powerful active immersion strategy is to create an English-only zone in your home. Choose one specific physical space. It could be the entire kitchen or just one comfortable armchair in the living room. Make a rule for yourself. Whenever you are in that zone, you must do your best to think, speak, and interact with the world only in English. If you're in your English armchair, you read your book in English. You scroll through social media in English. If you need to make a to-do list while sitting there, you write it in English. I had a student who made her kitchen her English-only zone. While she cooked, she would narrate her actions out loud in English. Now I am chopping the onions. I need to be careful with the knife. This constant, active use of the language in a safe, familiar environment made speaking feel incredibly normal and automatic for her over time. Another classic but effective technique is to label your world. You've probably heard of putting sticky notes with English words on objects around your house. But let's upgrade this technique for the B1/B2 level. Instead of just a single word like table, write a full, useful sentence on the note. On your dining table, the note could say, "This is the table where my family eats dinner together." On your mirror, it could say, "I am practicing my English and I am proud of my progress." On your coffee machine, "This machine makes delicious coffee every morning." This way, you are not just learning isolated vocabulary, you are constantly seeing and internalizing correct sentence structures in a meaningful context. Finally, you must become the curator of your own media diet. This is about making English a source of pleasure, not just a subject to be studied. First, change the language on your devices. Your smartphone, your laptop, your social media accounts. Switch them all to English. You will learn an incredible amount of practical, modern vocabulary without even trying. Second, Think about the movies and TV shows you already love, the ones you've seen many times in your own language. Watch them again, but this time with the audio in English. Because you already know the story, you can relax and focus on the language, the expressions, and the pronunciation. And lastly, find English language content that is related to your personal hobbies and passions. If you love gardening, find a podcast in English about gardening. If you are passionate about photography, follow famous photographers on Instagram and read their posts in English. When you are learning about something you genuinely love, it doesn't feel like studying. It feels like fun. And when English becomes a source of joy and entertainment, your motivation will skyrocket and your confidence will naturally follow. All right, now let's circle back to our core strategies and add more layers. We talked about shifting your focus from perfection to connection. This is a profound mindset shift that can change everything for you. So many learners are trapped by the belief that the primary goal of speaking English is to be flawless. But the real human goal of language is to connect. When you truly embrace this, the pressure you put on yourself begins to dissolve. I want you to think about this. Have you ever had a conversation with a small child who is just learning to talk? They make countless mistakes. Their sentences are incomplete. Their pronunciation is funny. Do you judge them? Do you think they are unintelligent? Of course not. You are delighted by their effort. You focus completely on the message they are trying so hard to convey. You see their attempt to connect, and it fills you with warmth. I want you to start offering a little bit of that same grace to yourself and to other learners. And here's a practical way to develop this connection mindset. Become a better listener. Confidence in conversation is not just about speaking well, it's also about listening well. When you shift your focus from, "What am I going to say next? Is my sentence perfect?" to "What is this person really trying to tell me? How are they feeling?" something magical happens. The pressure on you disappears. You are no longer performing. You are participating. Practice active listening. This means listening not just to the words, but to the emotion behind them. Then, show that you are listening by using phrases like, "That's so interesting. Can you tell me more about that?" Or, "So, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that." When you make the other person feel heard and understood, you build a strong connection. And in that space of genuine connection, you will feel safer, more relaxed, and infinitely more confident to share your own thoughts, imperfections, and all. Now, let's revisit that most fundamental strategy of all, being unconditionally kind to yourself. Your journey with the English language is a long and winding road. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And like any great adventure, it will have its sunny, beautiful days and its dark, stormy weather. There will be days when you feel on top of the world, when words flow effortlessly from you and you feel fluent and brilliant. And there will be other days, and I promise you there will be other days when you struggle to find even a simple word, when you feel clumsy, frustrated, and like an absolute beginner all over again. In those challenging moments, what is the voice in your head saying to you? Is it a harsh, relentless critic? Is it saying, "I'm so terrible at this. See? I knew it. I'm stupid. I will never get this. I can't do this"? That is the voice of self-criticism, and it is the single greatest enemy of your progress. It will drain your motivation, crush your spirit, and destroy your desire to ever try again. Instead, you must make a conscious, deliberate choice again and again to speak to yourself with the same kindness, the same patience, and the same unwavering encouragement that you would offer to a dear friend or a beloved child who is learning something new and difficult. If your friend was learning to play the guitar and hit a wrong note, you would never tell them they were stupid and should give up. You would say, "That's okay. It's a really difficult chord. Your fingers are still learning. Just try it again slowly. You're doing so great just by practicing every day. I am so proud of you. You absolutely must start offering that same level of deep compassion and unwavering support to yourself. The next time you make a mistake, I want you to practice a technique from mindfulness called the grateful reframe. You catch the immediate negative thought and you consciously reframe it with gratitude. So if your inner critic says, "You stumbled over that word, you sounded so unprofessional," you catch it. Then you reframe it. "I am grateful that I had the courage to speak up in that meeting at all. I am grateful that I have a voice to stumble with. I am grateful for this opportunity to learn and improve." This practice transforms your mistakes from evidence of your failure into evidence of your courage. Self-kindness is the fuel of confidence, my friend. It is what gives you the emotional energy and the psychological resilience to keep going, especially on the hard days. Because true, deep confidence is not loud. It is not arrogant. It is not fast or flashy. And it is certainly not perfect. Real confidence is quiet. It is steady. And above all, it is profoundly and unconditionally kind. Okay, now that we have spent a great deal of time talking about the powerful and positive ways to build our confidence, it is equally important that we shine a bright, honest light on the things that can tear it down. We need to be aware of the hidden traps and the negative patterns of thinking so that we can protect the precious confidence we are working so diligently to build. These are what I call the confidence killers. They are the sneaky thoughts and the insidious habits that make you feel small and insignificant. They are the whispers of doubt in your ear that make you want to retreat into silence. They can completely sabotage your progress in speaking English, often without you even realizing that it's happening. But here is the empowering news. Once you can name them, once you can see them clearly for what they are, you can defeat them. You can learn to recognize them the moment they appear, and you can consciously choose not to let them have power over you. Let's take a close investigative look at the 3 biggest and most common confidence killers that affect English learners worldwide. Confidence killer number 1, as we touched on, is the insidious habit of comparing yourself to others. This is a massive one. A deep and tempting trap that almost every single human being on the planet falls into from time to time, thanks in large part to social media. Perhaps you've done it already today. You're sitting in an English class, or you're watching a YouTube video or listening to a podcast, and you hear another learner speak with what seems like effortless fluency. Immediately, a thought flashes through your mind, almost automatically. Wow, they speak so well. I am nowhere near that good. Their vocabulary is so much bigger than mine. Their accent is so much better and more natural. I will simply never, ever be able to speak like them. This is the poison of comparison, and it is incredibly destructive for your confidence. Why is it so harmful? Because when you compare your unique, messy, beautiful journey to someone else's polished highlight reel, you instantly invalidate your own progress. You forget how far you have come from the very first day you started, from the moment you learned to say, hello. You are seeing the tip of their iceberg, but you are not seeing the vast hidden mass of effort, struggle, failure, and years of practice that lies beneath the surface. You don't know their full story. Perhaps that person has been diligently and intentionally studying English for 10 years, while you have only been seriously focused for 1. Perhaps they grew up in a country where English is spoken every day, and they have been completely immersed in it since they were a small child. Maybe they have had access to private tutors, expensive resources, or countless opportunities to travel that you have not had. Your story is different. Your path is your own, and it is just as valid, just as important, and just as worthy of respect. So how do we defeat this confidence killer? The solution is conceptually simple, but it requires a very conscious and consistent effort. You must commit to comparing yourself only to your past self. Instead of looking sideways at other people, you must learn to look backwards at your own personal journey. Start asking yourself a different, more empowering set of questions. Can I express myself more clearly today than I could 6 months ago? Do I understand more of this television show this week than I did last week? Am I still showing up to practice, even when I'm tired and it feels difficult? If the answer to these questions is yes, then you are growing. You are making tangible progress. And that is the only metric, the only comparison that truly matters. Your journey with English is not a race against other people. It is a personal and beautiful path of your own unfolding growth. Now for confidence killer number 2, the relentless critical voice of negative self-talk. This is that little internal critic, that harsh and unforgiving judge that lives inside your head, who seems to delight in pointing out all of your perceived flaws and every single one of your mistakes. You gather all your courage, you open your mouth and try to speak English, and as soon as the words leave your mouth, that voice begins its cruel, unhelpful commentary. That was the wrong preposition. You always get that one wrong. You sound so stupid when you hesitate like that. Why did you even try to speak? You just embarrassed yourself. You can't do this. This voice is not your friend. It is a liar. It takes a tiny, insignificant mistake, and it magnifies it with a powerful lens until it feels like a catastrophic, unrecoverable failure. It completely ignores the 99% of the sentence that you said correctly and focuses only on the 1% that was flawed. It tells you things that are specifically designed to make you feel small, incapable, and utterly hopeless. But here is a powerful truth that I want you to hold on to like a shield. Everyone on this planet has this voice sometimes. Even the most successful, confident people you know, even native speakers, have their own moments of harsh self-doubt and internal criticism. The problem, therefore, is not the existence of the voice itself. The problem is when we start to believe it as a fact, when we accept its harsh and unfair criticism as the absolute objective truth about ourselves and our abilities. So how do we fight back against this internal bully? The strategy is to become your own best friend, your own most compassionate and dedicated coach. You must learn to speak to yourself with the same kindness, the same patience, and the same unwavering encouragement that you would offer to someone you deeply love. If your best friend was learning something new and was struggling, you would never, ever tell them they were stupid. You would tell them, it's okay. This is hard stuff. Don't worry about that one mistake. Just try again. I am so proud of you for even trying. I believe in you. You absolutely must start offering that same level of deep compassion and unwavering support to yourself. The next time you make a mistake, I want you to practice a 3-step process. Catch it, challenge it, change it. First, catch the immediate negative thought. Second, challenge it by asking, is this thought 100% true? Is there any evidence to the contrary? Third, change it to a more realistic, kind, and helpful statement. So, I'm terrible at English becomes, English can be challenging, but I am learning and making progress every day. The more positive, realistic, and kind your internal words become, the stronger and more resilient your confidence will be. All right. And this brings us to our final confidence killer, number 3. This is the very subtle but very dangerous habit of speaking only in safe places. So many learners fall into this comfortable trap without even realizing it. They will only speak English in the controlled, predictable environment of their classroom with their kind and patient teacher. Or they will only speak when they have meticulously rehearsed a sentence in their head 10 times and feel 100% ready and absolutely sure of what they are going to say. They wait and they wait and they wait for the perfect moment, the perfect sentence, the perfect, completely risk-free situation. But my friends, real life is not perfect. Real conversations are messy. They are unpredictable, they are dynamic, and they are full of interruptions, misunderstandings, and corrections. If you always stay inside your comfortable, safe zone, you will never truly grow. Your confidence muscle will never be challenged in a real-world environment, and so it will never get stronger. It is exactly like a person who dreams of becoming a great swimmer, but is too afraid to ever leave the shallow end of the swimming pool. They can stand and splash in the safe, comfortable water all day long, but they will never, ever learn how to truly swim until they have the courage to venture out into the deeper water, where their feet can no longer touch the bottom. So, how do we defeat this confidence killer? You must start to take small, safe, and manageable challenges that push you just a tiny little bit outside of your current comfort zone. You don't have to go and give a speech in English tomorrow. You don't have to dive into the deep end right away. You just need to take one small, intentional step. I call this building your courage ladder. I want you to imagine a ladder. The bottom rung is something that feels very easy for you. The top rung is something that feels very scary. Your job is to create the steps in between. For example, rung 1 might be, say thank you to a shopkeeper in English. Rung 2 might be, ask for the price of something in a store. Rung 3 might be, give a simple compliment to a stranger like, I like your shirt. Rung 4 might be, make a phone call to a business to ask for their opening hours. Rung 5 might be, join an online conversation group and just listen for 15 minutes without speaking. Rung 6 might be, say one single sentence in that conversation group. Your job is not to leap to the top. Your job is to just climb to the next rung. And with each tiny step you take into that slightly uncomfortable new territory, your comfort zone actually expands to include that new experience. And your confidence grows stronger, more flexible, and more robust. And if you are ready to take a bigger step, consider finding a safe speaking partner. There are many apps and websites where you can find a language exchange partner. Look for someone who is also a learner, someone who is patient and kind. A good partner is not a critic. They are a fellow traveler on the same journey. Agree to speak for just 15 minutes a week and agree that mistakes are welcome. This creates a safe, private laboratory for you to experiment and grow. Okay. And as we come to the very end of our time together today, here is the final crucial point that I want to leave you with. The idea that ties everything we have discussed together in a neat, hopeful bow. Your confidence is like a small, precious, and resilient plant. You have worked so hard to plant the seed by making the brave decision to learn English. You are watering it every day with your practice and your consistent effort. Now, you must learn to protect it as it grows. Don't let the choking weeds of comparison, the toxic poison of negative thoughts, or the chilling, harsh winds of fear destroy it before it has a chance to truly flourish and blossom into the magnificent tree it is destined to become. You are in the process of building something beautiful, something powerful, something life-changing within yourself. So please be proud of your journey. I want you to take a moment today, after this podcast is over, to sit quietly and acknowledge how far you have already come. Celebrate your small wins. The new word you learned and used this week, the sentence you spoke even though your heart was pounding, the moment in a movie when you understood a joke without having to look at the subtitles. These small daily victories are the essential building blocks of great lasting confidence. And I want you to continue to speak with courage, especially when it feels hard. Because those difficult moments, those times when you are stretching yourself just beyond your current limits, those are the moments when you are growing the most. Thank you so much for listening today and for taking this important introspective step in learning with me. I'm Jessica, and this is English in Advance. Keep learning, keep speaking, and most importantly of all, keep believing in yourself and in the undeniable power of your own unique voice. Bye for now.